Hello, my friends. Welcome to our Rocket Raygun Awards for 2017. By now, you've probably noticed that things are very different this year, but we're having tons of fun hearing from all kinds of different people. Right now, we're going to talk about the best indie game of 2017. Let's hear from the EPN family.
What Remains of Edith Finch is my favorite indie game of 2017. There are a lot of great indie games. I would also throw Cuphead in the mix, but Edith Finch to me really spoke to me as a parent. Spoke to me as someone who values family and values great storytelling, and I think this game manages to touch on both of those things. It was a beautifully told tale. It was well written, great acting, great performances. I just really fell in love with it. I played it a couple different times just to make sure I got to see every nook and cranny of that game. Wonderful, wonderful game, and I think the best indie of the year.
Well, this one's easy. I mean, Cuphead is the game we've been waiting for it's been like 7 years in the making. A couple brothers, one of which lives down the road in Burlington. It's just, we didn't think this game was going to live up to its promise of being as hard as they said it was going to be and looking as good as they thought it was going to be. And it does. I mean, it looks like a cartoon from the 20s or 30s come to life. It's punishingly hard, but never really in an unfair way. It's just a great game, and to think that this was done by like basically the two brothers being helped by a few other people it blows my mind that such a small team can make something so cool. And I'm really glad that Microsoft has backed the way they did and really supported these guys all the way through.
Best indie game of 2017, hands down, without a shadow of a doubt. There's only one right answer to this game, and it is Dead Cells. Play Dead Cells, find Dead Cells on Steam. It is phenomenal. It is the best indie game. It's one of my favorite games of the year. But Dead Cells, it's constantly being updated. It's still not even finished, but I've been playing it since June, and every update is better. And I love it, and I need it. I need it on the Switch. I want it on the Vita. I want it on my PS4. I want it on my Xbox One X. I want it on everything. I want it on my phone. I want it in my hands right now. I wish I was playing that instead of talking to a camera.
Now, we work with Happy Console Gamer and Kind of Funny Games all year long, so let's hear from those guys.
So a few months ago, Vic and I were going to go see a movie, and he's like, hey, I got an early copy of Cuphead. Do you want to play it? And I'm like, sure. So we sat in his basement and played this absolutely beautiful, infuriating, incredible game. The art style is beyond anything you've seen, harkening back to the 1940s animation style of the Walt Disney Company. I loved it, and I was infuriated with the gameplay. It was so tough and engaging, but we kept coming back. And that's the one thing that I want to say about Cuphead is that it keeps you coming back because you can do better, and you always know you can do better.
Best independent game, Kind of Funny as a unit voted for Cuphead because everybody loves Cuphead. I still need to play more Cuphead, so I know it's amazing. But since you're interviewing Greg Miller and not the Cuphead developers, I'm going to say Hellblade. Hellblade is a game that totally caught me off guard. When I sat down and it was like, hey, put on headphones to get this 3D experience. I was like, what? And then you start that game, you're like, what is this? I thought it was going to be something in line with Heavenly Sword, based on, first off, the play on the name, but what Ninja Theory's done before. But going out there and learning the story of Senua, like, it's incredible. And for the first time, honestly, in a long time, maybe ever? Yeah, I think it might be ever, where that's a game that I started to play, and I was like, okay, I see what it's doing. I see where it's going. I put it down, got distracted by something else, and my wife picked up that game. And I think for the first time, yeah, in maybe my entire life, I sat there as a passenger and watched her experience that story and play through that story, and got to see where it was going, what she was dealing with, who the talking head, or the breathing head as it begins, is on her belt. But I just loved that game, and to know how small that team was, to know that the star is really just their video editor. You're like, yeah, all right, that is what indie gaming is all about.
Best indie game of 2017. Is it a question? It's Cuphead. Cuphead is amazing. It is just oozing aesthetic beauty, and just the way that the game plays, it feels so right, and the challenge is just right where it's frustrating but in a fun way. And once you overcome every single boss, you just get the feeling the video games are made for.
And brand new this year, we are actually opening things up for the EPN sponsors to give us their picks for Best Indie Game of 2017.
Best indie, I'm gonna give it to Pyre. Supergiant is an amazing studio, and you know, all their stuff is so good, and Pyre was just so unique. The art in it, the aesthetic is so great. You know, for me, that's one of the best games there.
And there's a lot of cool indie games this year, as there are every year. And the one that I'm picking is a weird one called Doki Doki Literature Club. It's a free game on Steam. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on about it right now, and I don't want to spoil it, but that short little free game really got to me. It's a horror style thing that just kind of comes together in such a neat way. I just really loved it, more so than I loved any of the other indie games that I was playing this year, because there's other great ones like Golf Story, and just there's a whole whack of them. But man, Doki Doki Literature Club really struck a chord with me again, and man, it just made me question my games and what we can do with great storytelling mechanics.
Best indie game, I gotta give that to Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. That came so out of left field. I think I saw a review on Digital Foundry about it, or actually a technical analysis that was. It looked interesting, had no idea what it was, checked it out, and I loved every minute of it. It's so cool that an indie developer can make such a great looking, AAA looking game, let's be honest, and add so much deep story and feeling and atmosphere into it. It's really dense. I love the fact that it was influenced by the experiences of people who had mental illnesses. It's not obvious, but if you know that that's the case, it sort of shines through, and I think it's a really interesting take on the subject matter, and it's great that games can do things like that.
Best indie game has to go to Cuphead. I mean, what can I say about Cuphead? That game has been in the making for years. Even the brothers who made this game had to mortgage their house so they can actually finish the game. It was literally a deal with the devil. Like, they had no other choice but to finish it. And I'm so glad that not only that they managed to finish the game, but it turned out to be such a phenomenal experience. Yes, it looks great, but I think it's also amazing that it controls as well as it does, because I wouldn't want to continue if the game doesn't even play well. So if you haven't played Cuphead, it's absolutely worth it as the best indie game of 2017.
Seeing a pretty big theme running through the Rocket and Raygun Awards for this category. Clayton Blair, who didn't send us a video, but he did pipe in with lots of good observations, says Cuphead is his choice. It is also my choice. This game is phenomenal, and congratulations to everybody involved in this wonderful game that really took the gaming industry by storm. Cuphead, you are our winner for Best Indie Game of 2017. Congratulations. And you know we've got lots of other categories yet to come, so please stay tuned for that, and also check out the other material that we've been making for you. And if you dig it, hit subscribe, that little bell, and if you're so inclined, that sponsorship button too.